Our today's topic is flora of Sanjay Gandhi National Park, and Seema Hardikar madam will be talking to us about that. She is a postgraduate in agriculture with a university gold medal and a Chancellor's Award winner. She pursued her interest in nature studies by various field-based courses organized by Agarkar Research Institute, Garware College, Pune, and Wildlife Institute of India, Dehradun. In 2015, she founded a nature education organization, FERN. Since then, FERN is conducting scientifically designed courses in field botany, basic ornithology, workshops in gardening, nature-friendly lifestyle, environmental lecture series, tree walks, and many other programs in and around Thane and Mumbai. Seema Madam is a co-author of the book The Other Mahabaleshwar, in which she has compiled the flora part. She has also translated a bilingual book, Panvel, Great City Feeding Heritage in Marathi. She was nominated as expert member of the Tree Authority Committee of Thane Municipal Corporation. She is the member of expert committee formed by Bombay High Court for monitoring cutting and transplantation of trees for Thane Metro project. She is also an expert member of the committee appointed by Thane District Collector for surveying 132 wetland sites in Thane District. She is associated with Department of Science and Technology, Government of India as a national evaluator for program National Children's Science Congress. So now I hand over the session to Seema madam.
Thank you, Sarvesh. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay. So, hello everyone. I can see there are a few people here whom I know. So, I guess most of you are already familiar with the Sanjay Gandhi National Park.
Excuse me, I request everyone to put their mics on the mute. It is causing unnecessary noise. Seema madam, you please continue.
Okay. So, I guess those among you residing in and around Thane and Mumbai will be very much familiar to Sanjay Gandhi National Park because it's for all the nature lovers like you and me. It is very near and dear place for all of us. So I will be taking nearly 40-45 minutes, I guess. I will limit it to that, and I will be running through a few slides. And what we are going to look in this presentation, it will go something like this. So let us just orient ourselves. Where are we? Where is SGNP exactly located? Something, a very few points about geography, geology, and soil and climate. Just to give, give all of us some idea. Then we will go through the forest typology, all the vegetation types. Then there are various habitats. And there are specific species associated with each and every habitat. Then we will run through a brief composition, like what are the dominant species of every habitat. In these, we will go through some tree species, then shrubs, climbers, herbs, of course, orchids, then some exotic species which we have planted in the area of national park. Then some invasive species which have invaded one or many of these habitats. Then rare endemic and threatened, rare endangered and threatened species, as well as some endemic species to this area. Then we will run through quickly the seasonal changes, what happens when the season changes. Then the current status and threats to the national park, and of course some conservation issues. So I will I'm sure I guess I'm in that I will limit it to 40-45 minutes. Okay? So let us start. So this is a very brief about the location. So here is the Sanjay Gandhi National Park, and as you can see, this is the core Western Ghats. And we are the SGNP is located to the west side of the core Western Ghats. In between here, this is Mahabaleshwar. This is Mathiran range. Sorry. Then this is Sanjay Gandhi National Park. Then on the west there is a Konkan coast. On the east it is Thane city, and to the south this is a Thane Creek. To the north of SGNP, this is Tungareshwar Wildlife Sanctuary. So just orient ourselves, where are we located. So this is important that SGNP lies on the outer spur of the Western Ghats. Then this is an interesting map. This has been prepared by the government department of groundwater survey, and it is the area of the entire greater Mumbai district. So this is the area of SGNP, Sanjay Gandhi National Park. And this map is particularly about the hydrogeology of the entire area. So you can see the orange part over here actually is the hilly terrain, and the rest of this V shape, this particular part is actually the hard rock, that is basalt. So I found a very interesting blog written by I guess Suvrat Khare or Kher, I don't remember. I have it in my references. We can see it later. Suvrat Kher, yeah. So Suvrat writes, he is a geologist, and he writes very nicely on mostly the geosciences, but he also writes about environmental issues and some evolutionary biology topics also. So Suvrat has written very nicely on geology of Mumbai. If any one of you are interested, I have a link of that particular blog of Suvrat at the end of this presentation. You might note that. So according to Suvrat, it is actually the geology of Mumbai region is very interesting, and it differs slightly from the rest of the Deccan Plateau, as it is a combination of basically a legacy of volcanism and sedimentation in Paleocene times, that is about 60 to 65 million years ago. And this second phenomena is quite recent, that the pronounced sea level rise during the Holocene. This period is around 15 to 20,000 years ago. And why the Suvrat says why the Mumbai region is geologically different from the rest of the Deccan Plateau is basically it is mostly basalt, but it also has rhyolites and trachytes, which are rich in iron, magnesium, calcium, and silica, quartz. Okay. Then as we are experiencing right now, the climate is almost hot and humid throughout the year. The temperature ranges around 16 to 32 degrees Celsius, and annual rainfall is around 2000 to 2004 mm. Then about the boundaries, the area of the national park is around 100 square kilometers, and regarding the boundaries, so there is this Mumbai side on the left, then the Thane city on the right. You can see the entire Eastern Express Highway and this Ghodbunder Road actually cutting right through the area of the national park. Then this is the Vasai Creek, and Vasai Creek actually divides this forest into two unequal halves. The upper one, or the northern part, is actually the Nagala block, which is a shorter part, and this one is the main SGNP area. And regarding the elevation from the creek, the Vasai Creek, the highest elevation in the park is around 486 meters. So now we have a fair idea about the location, some geological aspects, and climate. So now we are moving on to forest typology. So what is the basic forest type is moist deciduous forest, but it is not a uniform kind of thing. It is interspersed with patches of semi-evergreen forest at higher altitudes, and some moist teak-bearing forest, then southern moist mixed deciduous forest, then mangrove scrub. Obviously, mangroves you are going to find in along the creek side, that is this Nagla block as well as this part. And then West Coast semi-evergreen forest. These are some of the subtypes mentioned in the champion set as well as Pradhan's paper. Then according to the flora of HGNB published by Botanical Survey of India, there are over 800 species of flowering plants. I guess the number will increase. Then regarding, as I said, as you can see here, so the forest actually, though broadly it is classified as moist deciduous forest, it is actually composed of variety of mixed habitats as well as micro habitats. So these habitats one by one we will run through with some special characters as well as the species which are very specific to that habitat. Okay, so let us begin with forest stream. So I guess most of you will be familiar to this photograph. So this is Shilonda Trail at Borivali. So all these forest streams are obviously they are seasonal. So they are in operation in the monsoon months from July to September mainly, and then for next few months maybe probably. But very few places are perennial. Then along the stream, you can see the riparian zone, in which there are very specific trees, shrubs, or plants which are found in this riparian zone. In our place law or in HGNP, the common riparian zone trees, they are currants, that is Pongamia glabra, then Syzygium, quite a few of Syzygium species, jamun, then Ficus glomerata or gular or umber, and yes, a pandanus species, that is freshwater, which is seen around the freshwater stream. This pandanus is found here. I can show you the photograph in the next slide. Yes, it is here. So can you see here? This is pandanus. Mostly we are familiar to pandanus, which is found along the coastline. So that is a different species. This is a different species. So this I have photographed somewhere Bhendi Nala trail of. So this is about about pandanus. This is found near the water streams. Then right inside the stream bed, there are a few species. The most common one is with the pink inflorescence, that is Persicaria. Then along the streams in the monsoon, can you see these very big rocks are there? On these rocks, the very common species that grows is basically rock begonia or Begonia crenata. We call it in Marathi Khadak Ambadi. And there are a lot of ferns, obviously. Then once the stream is dry, after the post-monsoon, this plant, Argemone mexicana, or in Marathi we call it Piura dhutara, it is really like invasive. It has invaded a lot of stream beds at Shillonga at least. I don't know about, I'm not sure about Bhendi Nala or these other places, but Shilonda, yes, in dry season, if you visit Shilonda, there are a lot of Argemona plants growing in the right in the stream bed. So these are this is the species and that is invasive, not good for our habitat. This is also photographed at Yor near Bhendi Nala. This is Khadak Ambadi or rock begonia, which I was talking about. So this is a small stream, small running water, and along that, on these rocks, you will find the beautiful patterns of this rock begonia and of course ferns, and the flower is really really beautiful. Then what happens to these streams once the monsoon is over? So this is how your stream will look. Any stream in the HGNP will look in a dry season, that is post monsoon. and you will just see a sandy bank or the bed, and interspersed with all these rocky area. Then you can see over here. I will zoom this particular site. It looks something like this. So this is a low-lying area where the water has been accumulated even after, like, in the month of November or so. So the stream is entirely dry, and this particular area, which is somewhat low-lying. So here you can see actually the some marsh species, semi-aquatic species, you can say, and the most dominant one what we are seeing here is actually Hygrophila shuli, or in Marathi we call it Talim Khana. So this is the season, October, November. You might see some of the low-lying marshes, low-lying places. You can see this particular species. Then let us move on to next habitat. It is waterfalls. I know that all of us actually love to visit national parks during monsoon, and most of the tourists they are attracted with these waterfalls, mainly at Kaniri, who enter through Borivali Gate, or in Thane also. If you enter through Manpada, there is a beautiful waterfall, rather a couple of waterfalls just on the trail. And this one is actually the Upper Kaniri one. The second photograph is from Nagla, and you can see a rock begonia over here also, and the beautiful design made by rock begonia over here on the surrounding rocks. Okay, so this is Shilonda. I don't know how many of you have visited this particular place. It is beyond second stream, but yeah, it is really beautiful, almost heavenly. So let us see some of the species associated with the waterfall. So most of them, they actually grow on vertical rocks, where there is a lot of very limited soil and mineral matter available. So most of them are very short, with very short life cycle. That is ferns, mostly mosses or other bryophytes, then rock begonia, as we see. Liverworts, hornworts are the bryophytes, and of course lichens. So these are the species, mostly even some balsam species. They are associated with the this waterfall region, or the vertical surfaces where the water is running continuously. Then another one which is slightly different from the waterfall is the cliff. Here the water is not necessarily running throughout the monsoon period. These might be even, there might be even harsher conditions. So you can see over here, this is the Upper Kaniri plateau, and this is the cliff. This is Mama Bhanja, and this is the Bhanja point, highest the point of Bhanja Hill. And this is what I mean to say when I say cliff. That's a vertical rock surface. So this is Mama Hill actually. So this is there is a nice cliff, directly vertical rock surface over here. And the second one is this is of course the monsoon period. This one is a slightly post monsoon, like October, November period. This is actually photographed at Manpada, and the grass, you can see the golden, the entire the cliff or the vertical rock surface is entirely covered with the dry grass. So grass is the major what you can say species growing over. There are a few species. We actually found during one of the workshops, we actually found a rare species of grass over this particular cliff actually. So these are also very important habitats, though mostly neglected, or very like out of reach, we can say. Because nobody is going to, this is the entire vertical rock. So you actually need some rock climbing skills or rappelling skills to access these kind of habitats. But yeah, there are a few species associated. This is again Upper Kaniri. So you can see it is inhabited entirely by Euphorbia species in monsoon. So yeah, cliffs are extreme habitats because it is a bare rock surface and a very little soil or mineral matter is available, very harsh conditions in dry period. So mostly it is inhabited by plants only during only seasonal plants or only during monsoon when little water is available. These species are Euphorbia, as we saw here. Then there is Ficus arnusiana. In Marathi, we call it Khadak Pimple. So it is slightly different than people, what we are familiar with. But yeah, the leaves are slightly different. But this species is it actually grows on the rock. So that's Ficus arnusiana and a lot of grass species as I saw here. So this was about cliff. Then just below the cliffs, you can see here, these are the hill slopes actually. Though the slope is quite steep, you can see in between the rocks, there is a quite nice soil layer. Okay, so the soil is available. So here on the left, in the left photograph, you can see Chlorophytum tuberosum growing. There are a lot of plants over here. This is just monsoon, just after a few showers or first few showers. This is Pancratium species. We'll be talking about Pancratium somewhat later when we when we will talk about seasonal changes. But yeah, so these are the species growing on hill slopes. So just if we go ahead in the season, this is how our hill slopes will turn into.
Seema madam, can I stop you for a couple of minutes? Hello. Hello.
Yeah, sure, Sarvesh.
So we
Yeah.
have some participants here.
Hello?
One with yeah. So we have some participants here with name Albus Dumbledore, then Rabbit, and some mobile numbers. We had already said that please enter in this meeting with your real name. We don't have these names in our list, registered participant list, so they are not allowed in this session. So please enter with your real name. Thank you, madam. You can continue.
Yes. So this was photographed from the Mama Bhanja Hill, and this is opposite of the Thane city side. So yeah, so these are the hill slopes, and this is nearly what you can say August-September kind of period where actually the senecio and coxcomb has just started blooming, and okay, so there are some very special species which grow on these hill slopes. So as we have seen, there is a good soil layer, and mostly the seasonal species will grow. Otherwise, these slopes will be mostly bare, and some perennial trees will be there like Kando, Sterculia urens, and yeah. There is one more perennial species. I don't have a good photograph, so I didn't put it. But most of you will be, most of you have been familiar with Carvi. So the Strobilanthus callosus or Carvia callosa. So Carvi, yeah. So most of our hill slopes are actually covered with Carvi, and as we all know, Carvi is perennial. So yes, so all these hill slopes are covered with dense cover of Carvi. Then in monsoon, of course, senecio and balsam, as we saw in this particular slide, then coxcomb or kurdu and Carvi, these are covering these hill slopes. And occasionally you will, if you are very, what you can say, you have to be very, very alert and keep searching and keep watching, and you might find some of the species of Abenarias. We have a few species of Abenarias and of course Cerophagias, which are occasional sightings. I won't say rare, but occasionally. Yeah. So Acha. So this is a picture of the hill slope, just end of September or something, when Senecio is in full bloom. So yeah, if you are fond of mass blooming on rocky plateaus like Khas or some other plateaus in Western Ghats or Konkan, yeah. So some of these plateaus, we do have these kind of plateaus at SGNP, and please do visit these plateaus in monsoon in August, September. They are fully covered like this, and it's beautiful. So this is a plateau of Upper Kaneri, rocky plateau, and on the left you can see this is a very special species, Saxorum, and it is an endemic. Go to some other endemic species also at the end of this presentation. Both species also. But this I will say unique. I can say unique species as you see these grass small guard rock outcrops. So Dipkadi actually grows in these very small soil patches. And this Dipkadi Saxorum, there is a good population actually at the Upper Kaneri. I haven't seen actually this plant at Yeur or Nagla outcrops, but in Borivali at Kaneri, it is fairly common. Upper Kaneri during the season is July. So in July, if you go to Upper Kaneri, and you will have to search for it because the plant is very small. And yeah, so is my voice clear to everyone?
Yes, yes.
Is my voice breaking a lot? Yeah.
No, it's
yeah, yeah. Okay, thank you. Yeah. So yeah. So yeah, Dipkadi Saxorum. So please, those of you who are interested, please visit Upper Kaneri Plateau in the month of July, and search for this Dipkadi Saxorum. It's a very small plant, but very interesting. Then rocky. This is how rocky plateau will look just our season is starting, like December, January. In December, so this is, I guess I have photographed this at Yor. There is a very nice in actually monsoon here at this particular place. There is a nice patch of crinum lilies which grows, and we generally arrange a flora walk over here every year. So this is a crinum trail. We are fond of calling it like crinum trail. So this is another species which grows in monsoon on plateaus, that is Scylla or Ledeburia. So yeah, these are some common plateau species. So as you can see here, again, extreme habitat, very harsh conditions, very little soil available and moisture available. So mostly the rocky outcrops or the rocky plateaus will be in bloom only during monsoon. And yeah, in monsoon, species composition changes every week, and that is really fascinating. And you should probably start visiting these places right from mid-June. And every alternate week, if you visit, you will find the composition changing, that the dominant species are changing. So like Khas or what happens in Valley of Flowers, same thing. And that is very fascinating. Then, of course, the majority of the part is, as we saw, mixed deciduous forest. So you can see a lot of colors in this, though it is monsoon. In summer, a lot more colors are actually seen. So we discussed about this is, yeah. So this is Kando. This is some Picus species. Yeah, this has been photographed from Mama Bhanja Hill. This is a trail at Nagla block. And regarding the composition of this forest, this is very short and very introductory. Okay, so I'm going to list a few species, but there are a lot more. Yeah. So let us go through some common, very common deciduous trees. Like you enter SGNP through any of the trails, and you are going to see most of these. Okay, because these are very common. So this is teak. Okay, so right now I am on the slide which says forest. So is everyone with me?
Yes.
Okay. So let us quickly go through some very common deciduous trees. The one I guess we all can very well identify is teak. Then palash we all know. Then silk cotton. Then mahua or Maduka indica, Maduka latifolia. Then Rhytia. Rhytia is Tinctoria and Rhytia arborea. So in Marathi we call it Karakuda, which is most common. Then coral tree is Erythrina, again with blood red flowers in summer. Then ghost tree is species Sterculia, urens, and we have that Sterculia colorata, more Sterculias in our forest. That is there. Then we have Beheda. Everyone familiar with Beheda? That is Terminalia bellerica. It's a part of Ayurvedic composition Trifada, Aura, Hirada, and Beheda. So we have Beheda very commonly here. Hirada is found in there is a spelling mistake in Writing. Thank you for noticing that. Then Beheda is common in our area, that is Konkan, and Hirada you will all see it in the Western Ghats, okay, as you go the ascend or as you go some altitude. Then Ain is common, that is Terminalia tomentosa. Then Miliusa. Miliusa is local language, the tribal people call it Humb. Now, in low, they also
Madam, your voice is not clear.
This is again a fruit. Okay.
Hello. Am I audible?
Okay. So tree.
Hello.
Edible. And I will just continue. Let us hope that Grevia, yes, Grevia is another species. There are a few species of Grevia. Yeah. सुबोध जरा येतोस का? Hello.
Hello. Am I audible to you, madam?
आवाज गेला म्हणजे बहुतेक नेटवर्कचा काही प्रॉब्लेम झाला. Hello.
Hello. Am I audible to you?
Hello.
Yes.
Yes.
No, I am asking to Seema.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
Hello. Okay. So shall we continue?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. About Dillenia, yes. So we do have two species of Dillenia. One is yellow flowering and one is white flowering. Yellow flowering Dillenia, that is Dillenia pentagyna, you can see at Nagala trail. Then Holoptilia, or in Marathi we call it Vavar. which is again very common deciduous tree. You can find Holopteria trees in Thane city also somewhere. Then Spondias is Ambada. That is another, the fruits are again edible. Garuga is Kakad. These fruits are also edible, and the tribals actually they make pickle of these particular fruits. Then Lania is Mui. These fruits are not edible, but yeah, the wild animals actually love them. Then let's move to some evergreen species. As we saw during forest typology, though the dominant forest type is actually mixed deciduous forest, there are a few patches of like semi-evergreen patches, in which the most common evergreen trees over here are mango and jamun. Yeah, and these are wild mangoes, and the trees are huge. If you walk from here to Mama Bhanja, in the middle part, there are huge mango trees and jamun and surangi. Surangi is Mamiya suriga. Then we have Bakur also, Mimosops. Then Khirni is Manilkara hexandra. It is again okay, so it is again one of the evergreen trees, and some Litsea species we do have here. Then the most common lianas. Lianas actually are the woody climbers. So it's a characteristic of our forest. I don't think I have a few pictures ahead in later slides. So in lianas, these Getonia and Combretum, Getonia floribunda or Calicopteryx floribunda. In Marathi, we call it Ukshi, and Combretum is basically we call it Piluk. So Ukshi and Piluk, they are most common ones, and they are in flowering in summer, and you can see them in March, like right from February they will start, and March, April, you will see them in bloom. Symphorima is occasional, I will say, and wild jasmine in May. This is the season of actually the wild jasmine, May, April, May. And Dalbergia, a few species of Dalbergia. One of the species which flowers in June, I have a very nice photograph in the later slide, Dalbergia scandens. In Marathi, we call it Garud Vale. And so believe me, these are the huge climbers, and they will climb upon the huge trees and spread like that. And you will not find the leaves of these climber at your height. You will need binoculars to look in the leaves actually. Then very common shrubs are of course Carissa, and Flemingia is very common as forest undergrowth. Flemingia strawberryiflora with beautiful bracts and flowers, and of course there are two species of Lea indica and the other species. The Lea is very common as forest undergrowth again. Then from all the sites of HGNP, I guess mostly the beginning of the trails or near the boundary of the entire national park, these exotic trees, Peltophorum, then Dilonix or Gulmohar, then Gliricidia, then we do have rain trees, then Subabo and Nilgiri. All these are planted in the fringes of the national park, then along the roads inside the national park. Even at Manpada, there are a lot of patches of Peltophorum and Subabo and Nilgiri. So these are the plantations of exotic trees, and which are not good for our habitat actually. Then there are some invasive species in the forested area. So most of these species you will find growing where there is this open area like this. If the trail is moving like this, then along this trail in this open area, you will find most of these species growing, and they spread very quickly. That is why they are called as invasives, and all of them are non-native species. They don't belong to our habitat, and they are exotic. The lantana is a big problem. Then Ageratum is there, Eupatorium is there, Vernonia is there. Of course, all these species, so some of you might be the butterfly lovers, and I know that most of these species are loved by adult butterflies. So you will see butterfly congregations on most of the flowers of these species, but as plants, they are like they are non-native and they are invasive. They are rapidly covering this particular portion along the trail or any open habitats, and suppressing the growth of native species. That is why it is dangerous. Then, yes, of course, this is from Nagla block, and the opposite side, you can see a vast stretch of SGNP over here. This is Vasai Creek, and a lot of mangrove species growing here. There is a very nice diversity of mangroves. Then this is about seasonal variation. So what to see and when. So let us start from this particular season, what we are in. Actually, the tree flowering season at our place at National Park starts right from the December, I will say, because the first tree to flower at our locality is Bombax. The Bombax, as in this is Insigne. The species is Insigne and not Siba, which is red silk cotton. In Marathi we call it Dev Savar. So that is the first tree which flowers in our forest in SGNP, and which actually marks the beginning of tree flowering season. Okay, so it is right from you can say December, but the most of the trees you will see during this February, March, April, the majority of the forest trees will be in flowering. So that is the best season to visit the park. Any trails you you visit during February, March, April to study the tree flora of SGNP. Then April onwards, generally we have a very good diversity of epiphytic as well as terrestrial orchids, ground orchids, as well as those orchids growing on other plants. Mostly the epiphytic orchids will begin flowering from this period only, April onward. The bee orchid will be in flowering right now, and Smithsonias and dendrobiums and all this. And the terrestrial orchids or ground orchids will be in bloom from June onwards, all the habanerias and other eulophias and other species. Then early monsoon flora is of course June, but it is not fixed, as it depends on the start of the monsoon showers. So right after the first monsoon showers, there are a few species, and then from mid-June onwards, you will see one by one. Then the core monsoon flora is actually July, August, and September. Post-monsoon, the October onwards, October, November is the post-monsoon, which coincides with actually the grasses flora. It is a very less studied and neglected group, but very interesting. And this is a relatively December, January, very low flowering. If you happen to visit during December, January, everything, it is a leaf fall season at our place. And as the dominant species are all deciduous, most of the trails you will see very dry and barren like things. So this is about seasonal variation, when to visit park and what to see, what you will see. Okay. So yeah, so this is like summer to monsoon, the same patch of Nagla. Just look at the color changes and seasonal changes. So let us run now quickly. So this is summer. So most of the, as I said, this is a tree flowering season. So most of the trees which we saw, trees as well as lianas will be in flowering in summer. And as well as this is also a very fantastic phenomenon, that the tender leafy shoots, the tender growth, as you can you notice here, this is kusum. And in February, March, this tender leafy shoots you will notice of behda, of mahua, of kusum, and these look very nice, like coppery and pinkish tender growth. And the rest will be in flowering, and the dominant color of summer is mostly red, pink, yellow, orange, like that. Okay. Then okay, so these are just quickly, this is erythrina, then red silk cotton, then palash. This is my favorite, and most of you will not be may not be familiar with this, but this is what we call Pitara or Pitare, Trivia polycarpa. And this is the trees, the plant is actually dioecious, that is the male and female plants are different, and this particular is a male plant. This is male flowers, male flowering, male inflorescence, you can say. And it looks stunning. So yeah, so this is Trivia. Then Indian laburnum, of course, we know all of us are very fond of this, Bahava. Then this is Holoptilia flowers, and these are the fruits, and this is Ambada or Spondias fruits. This is Lania. And yeah, so this is so I missed this particular tree in the list of evergreens. This is Currants or Pongamia. Which is the flowering season is actually now, end of May or just start of monsoon. This is Rhytia tinctoria or Kala Kuda. This is one of the ficus species. This is Combretum. These are the two lianas which are most common in SGNP. This is Ukshi or Getonia, and this is Combretum or Piduk. Yeah, this is the tender shoots of the tender leaves of Kusum. And once the summer is over, and basically right after the first shower, if you happen to visit the right place in the first week itself, right after the first shower, if you are lucky, you will get to see this particular species. This is Pancratium. It is very limited. It is limited to very small patches, but we have a fairly good population, I will say, in these small patches. The last year at Yeur, actually, there is a small patch of about what we can say, maybe 10 by 10 or not 10 by 10, maybe 100 square feet or something, but we have actually counted more than 600 plants of this particular species right at that spot. So why am I saying this is it is not common everywhere. Okay, it is as it actually grows or multiplies, it is a bulbous plant, so it multiplies through its bulbs. So the dissemination is what you can say limited. The spread is limited, and so these small patches which are very diverse and which inhabit these some of the rare species, and we need to actually watch these patches and conserve these patches. Okay, so this is another patch of Crinum laticolium. And yeah, you can see these at Yeur also, somewhat higher elevations, as well as Kaniri also you can fairly see these species. You need some higher elevation and rocky patch. So that's the habitat of both these species, hill slope or rocky hill slope, Pancratium and Crinum. These are lily species and beautiful and early monsoon species. Then following Pancratium and Crinum, you will find this will be like mid-June, around mid-June to end June, I can say. So these two species are Chlorophytum. In Marathi, we say Safed Musari. It is medicinal also, and this is Chlorophytum tuberosum. This is very interesting species. This is Chlorophytum borivlianum. And if you notice the specific name, that is borivlianum. There is borivli in that name, which suggests that it's a type locality of this particular species. The species is first described from Borivali area, okay, our national park. So this is Chlorophytum borivlianum, and this is Scilla or Ladevuria. So these are monsoon ephemerals. Ephemerals because they have a very short life cycle. That is why ephemerals. These are some very common monsoon species which you will encounter at any of the trails during July, August, September. Okay, this is Camelina. This is Moradica dioica or Curtuli. That's a common vegetable. Then this is common balsam, Terda. This is Curculigo or Kari Musari. This is wild turmeric, ran halad, and this is coxcomb or kurd, celosia. Then Rostellularia, then begonia, we already seen. This is cup and saucer. The fruits are really beautiful. This is wild grapes. This is climber. Yeah, so these are the, so this was the liana, which I was talking to you about sometime later. So this is actually Dalbergia scandens. In Marathi, it is called as Garud Vale. And this is huge, and it flowers very profusely. Bryannia is cup and saucer. So this actually Dalbergia flowers profusely. You can see over here. This is the picture from Yeur in the month of June, and this is another beautiful small tree. I can say this is gardenia. But this is somewhat different than the gardenia flowers. What we have in our gardens is this is Gardenia resinifera, decay mali, and very nice scented flowers, but only June. And at Nagla as well as at Kaniri, there are plenty of these trees if you happen to visit in June. So till now we saw what you can say, the higher plants, the flowering plants. These are some of the, there is a lot of diversity of actually the lower groups of plants, that is bryophytes and pteridophytes and lichens and all. And of course the mushrooms, there are plenty of diversity. I will not go into details of mushrooms, but there is a lot of diversity of mushrooms. These are some of the, I will say some very common wild vegetables which you will get in the local markets, which are procured from the actually the national park and other wilder areas. So so most of you will be would have tasted a few of these might be, but there is a lot of diversity. Yes. Then after monsoon, there is a short period where the moisture is still there, and there are a few plants, mostly the shrubs, which are in flowering. So Barleria is one of the groups. So we have 3-4 species of almost 3-4 species of pink Barlerias, and there are some yellow Barlerias, Koranti in Marathi we call it. And they are fairly common in post-monsoon season. Then this is Thespecia and a few other species of Ran Bhindi or Ran Kapus in that particular Malvaceae family, and very few of the Blepharis and this hibiscus family, again Malvaceae family, Hibiscus hirtus, and of course the grass species right after post monsoon, that is October onward. Then so we move on to orchids. There is a very nice paper by Swidl Shivkar and Rajendra Shinde, Dr. Rajendra Shinde, on orchids of Asianthi. I have the details of that paper. You can note it down in the reference slide. So this is a Campe, this is bee orchid. It will be in flowering in Yeur right now, but unfortunately none of us could visit it this time and see it. This is Rinco Stylus. This is again very common. Then this is Smithsonia. You will not believe me, the flower is hardly the the size of my nail. It is very small, less than a centimeter. Okay, and very beautiful. So this is the Eridis maculosa. Then this is again a beautiful ground orchid. It is not photographed at SGNP, but it is reported from SGNP. This is Habenaria longicorniculata, and this is Oberonia. So among these, as I said, the paper actually lists 15 species of orchids which are found in SGNP, out of which, this is very interesting, the 7 are endemic. And they are not endemic to SGNP, but they are endemic to either Western Ghats or India or Peninsular India or South India, whatever. So I have listed these species which are endemic here. And many of them, as you can see here, they are included in RAT, like rare, endangered, and threatened species. So some of them are vulnerable, the near threatened, endangered, critically endangered. So there is a lot of need for conservation of these species, all the orchid species. Then we saw Chlorophytum boryblianum, which is critically endangered again. Dipkadi, what we are seeing here, is endemic again. Then Ceropegias, then Ixora brachiata is endemic, and Placotia montana. Both the last two ones are the tree species which are endemic to Western Ghats and which are fairly common, I can say, in the national park. Then, yeah, there is another very nice report, I would say, or an article, so which actually shows some threats. So you can see the map over here. This is AGNP. So just notice this brown or red patches. So what they say is this is human encroachment in forested area. So this has the encroachment has been one of the major threats since last few decades. Then can you notice here this yellow patch is totally gone from here. This yellow patch is actually the cultivation on the fringes of the national park. So this open patch is gone. This open jungle with other forests, this patch, probably the RA1, this patch is gone. And now this is really isolated kind of area with a lot of human encroachment still going on. So the major threat is habitat loss or fragmentation. Fragmentation because of upcoming developmental projects, because of Gurubandar Road, we can see, or the bullet train and all the upcoming projects which will be causing fragmentation. Then human interference, obviously. Then these settlements actually they are responsible for collection of plant material for food, timber, medicinal, and commercial purposes. This is debatable, so I will not go more into the ethnobotanical aspects of these. There are a few papers on medicinal plants of the national park, then some research regarding the ecosystem services also, where these things have been listed. But yeah, the pressure is definitely there. Yeah, so this is a serious threat. The last point: plantation of exotic and ornamental species inside the protected area. So yeah, even you can notice a lot of exotic tree species have been planted, and on the trails also inside the forest, you will find a lot of invasive and foreign species, and that's a serious problem. That's a threat. Then there is a serious need for conservation, as I said. And basically the main question is what to conserve. So main challenge is to assign the conservation priorities. So so that is why actually I put this particular slide of RAT and endemic species, as if we know the distribution of these particular species, those sites should be the top priority for conservation. Then so we also need thorough understanding of natural distribution of the species and their population size, in which we are fairly lacking. We do have a list, but regarding the distribution and population, there are very limited data, or very few records are available. Then yes, issues related to regeneration and reproductive biology and phenology. Till now also, I read in newspapers every monsoon that some NGO or some NSS people, like the students or schools and some organizations, what they are doing is they are doing plantation inside the national park. They are doing plantations inside the Yor. So see, the intentions are all good, I can understand, but so there needs to be a proper study, or what you can say data about what you are planting, then where you are planting, then why you are planting. So these regeneration studies, if instead of plantation, if we offer just a protection to the particular area, the protection from fire, protection from any cutting or grazing. So what is the regeneration rate? So none of very few of these studies have been done actually, and what we are doing is for our sake, for our what you can say interest, and hey, we are just going after plantations every year in a monsoon, and I guess that is not scientifically correct, at least, though our intentions are good. And we should be rethinking on the plantations inside the protected area or the national park. The socio-economic elements are really critical, because there are tribal populations residing right inside the national park, and there are problems, there are conflicts. Then some propagation methods here. So let us move ahead. Okay, so so these are the few papers which I mentioned. So this is the article or the paper of which studies the origins of Asian. This is Surat's blog, which talks about geology of Mumbai, and you should read it. It's really interesting. So there are a few other papers also. Yeah, so a few photographs in this presentation were by Rohit, Mayuresh, Subodh, and Inga Harikar sir. So thank you. I really thank them, and thank you all for your patient listening. If you have any doubts or queries, you may write to me at seema@fern.in, and do visit our website. We have a website called www.fern.in, and we have a YouTube channel also of Fern. So that is youtube.com/c/FernThane. So please, so we do have a few videos and interviews from people who are working in nature and environment conservation field. Yeah. So thank you all, and good day.
Thank you, Seema madam, for this lovely session. I now request people, if you have any doubt, you can write them in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself and ask the question.
Sure.
Seema madam, there are few questions in
How
the
exotic species?
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Good evening, ma'am.
Yeah. Good evening.
Ma'am, I wanted to know if is there any recent sightings of orchids that you have been doing in the premises of SGNP? Any recent data can you share with us?
Recent sightings of what you are saying? Just any listing or sighting you are saying?
Sightings, yeah. Any listing or sightings of orchids? Basically, because the SGNP data of orchids seems to be quite profuse, but I haven't come across all the species mentioned in the flora, or even what the paper you mentioned. I forgot the author. Raju sir's paper, Rajendra Shinde sir's paper, and even
that paper is actually 2015. So
15
I guess
paper,
that is
yes. That's
that
the
is
most
the latest
recent data.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That is
but
the
after
most
that,
recent. Yes.
most recent, yes. After that, any sightings or any species?
I'm not aware of the any recent assessment, if they have done any other.
No, I'm asking about your personal sightings, madam. Your
Personal
observations.
sightings. Not other than not other than this the species mentioned in this particular species. So there is no any new sighting or something. This species already, and the distribution is already mentioned in the
already mentioned,
this
yes,
paper.
in the literature. Yeah. And secondly, madam, recently Ceropegia odorata was to be rediscovered from the type locality, that is SGNP. Have you come across the species?
No.
Not yet. Any
No,
idea
not yet.
the okay. Second, thirdly, many a times literature is mentioning about the Salfit Island as one of the distribution for floras of SGNP.
Yeah,
Can you throw
yeah,
some light
yeah.
exactly what are the boundaries of the Salfit Island?
Boundary, I guess the Surat's blog will throw more
I
light
just
in that
I
respect.
just went through the blog
Geology.
parallelly. I just
Yeah,
went through the blog parallelly, but was
yeah, yeah,
unable to answer the
yeah,
question.
yeah. There are a few maps in that blog,
Okay.
but yeah, I guess it is the boundary is extends beyond, of course, beyond SGNP. So it is not limited to SGNP. Salsa Tag.
Okay.
So,
And
but
ma'am,
I'm
have
not
you
sure till
hmm, because it's a very old data
yeah.
that has been documented, so it's quite
Yes,
oftenly
yes,
uses
yes,
the
yes,
term Salfit Island. You must have come across.
yes.
So I just wanted to know what
Yeah, yeah.
exactly are the geographical features of this island. Okay. And ma'am,
No,
have
no,
you reported?
I'm not sure about it.
Not sure. No problem, ma'am. And ma'am, have you come across
Yeah.
Habenaria longicorniculata, that is the ground orchid which you just mentioned in the some of the slides?
No, not at HGNP. Not at
Not at
HGNP.
SGNP, right?
But the
Right.
paper actually mentions no.
Not
But
at
paper
SGNP.
actually mentions some of the locations, but
But
I haven't personally seen it at HGNP. Yeah.
SGNP, because I have seen it at Panvel, the wildlife sanctuary over there, Karnala Bird Sanctuary, but
Yeah.
I haven't come across it at
Yeah.
SGNP. That is right. Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for this wonderful
Yes,
session.
yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, Sarvesh. Do we have questions in chat?
Yes, how exotic species different from invasive species is the question.
Okay, exotics and invasive. So, yeah. So, invasive species actually are the ones which grow very fast, actually, and which you can say reproduce very fast and very successfully. And so they cover a lot of area. And because of that, they suppress the growth of the native species. And the invasive species are, of course, these are the foreign species, you can say, or non-native species. And exotics, you can so exotic you can say these are trees also. There are some trees which are listed as exotic. So these are, you can't say really these are invasive. Some of them are invasive, yes. Like subabur. Subabur is definitely invasive because the regeneration capacity is very high and through seeds. So yeah, so there is what you can say uh, the boundary or very narrow in the meaning, but yes, invasives are basically fast reproducing and covering the area and suppressing the growth of natives. Yeah.
Yes.
So
And then
any other question?
yes. Any study carried out on how vegetation pattern has changed over a period of time?
No, unfortunately not. And that is where we actually lack in data, seriously. Yeah. And yeah, it is definitely needed because I guess the BSI of flora of SGNP is like a few decades old, and we do need to revise it to know what is the current distribution of the vegetation. Yeah. That's a nice question. Yeah.
Then we have one more question. Can you tell us more about rare grass species found on hilly slopes of Manpada?
Yeah. So there are a few species. I actually don't remember many of them right now because I'm not used to studying grasses so well. But if you are interested, please write to me at seema@fun.in and I will definitely revert. Okay. I will share with you. Yeah, sure.
How to deal with invasive species is straight away uprooting them is a solution.
Uh, yeah, uprooting them probably. burning them in control burning, or I'm not sure, but some systemic weedicides we can use. Of course, all this in very controlled areas, but it is really difficult. Yeah, I understand. So basically, prevention is better than cure, I would say, but it is difficult to get rid of them. Once you open a patch, they will come. So we need basically to protect the native diversity or native flora. That is what I would say.
Okay. Then is there any sacred grove inside SGNP?
No. So sacred grove is a concept in itself. So we don't have any such kind of concept. It is very rare in actually the Thane district also. So we do have this concept very prevalent in some other districts in Western Ghats, but and as well as in Konkan, in southern Konkan, but not common in Thane district. So and definitely not in SGNP.
Then we have one more question. As we say, lianas are characteristics of forest. Can you please tell
Mhm.
significance of them in forest ecosystem with respect to SGNP or in general?
Okay, so significance of lianas is basically lianas actually they act as connectors. So there is a lot of what you can say, the connections made in between the trees and shrubs and the lower plants and the undergrowth with the bigger trees, and that is why the accessibility of the other animals, the smaller animals, maybe the insects, the crawling one animals, it increases. And it creates additional niches or micro habitats for all these smaller species, we can say. So that is why it adds value, I guess, to the entire composition of the forest layering in terms of layering. It provides layers.
Okay. Then where can we get seedlings or saplings of these native plants for plantation in nearby cities?
Yeah, there are a few nurseries. I guess yeah, there is a very nice group in Thane called as Green Umbrella. And these people actually prepare a lot of saplings of native trees every year. And if you are interested, please, you can search for Green Umbrella or write to me. I will share their contact.
Okay. Then can you tell about how Argyman mexicana is invasive to other species?
Yeah, Arjumon mexicana or Pivara dhothra is first of all it is not native. It is exotic. Then yeah, as I said, its regeneration, like its propagation, is by seeds. It produces a lot of seeds in a single fruit, and there are a lot of fruits on the, though the plant is very small, there are a lot of fruits on the single plant, and that is why the population increases very fast, and it covers the area very fast. Secondly, it is very hard to destroy this particular plant or remove this particular plant, as it is thorny. It has a very what you can say, sharp spines. It is spiny. So that is why the control Arjimon population is also very hard. It is not easy. So it just grows. That's it.
Okay. Then there was a planned close orchidarium inside SGNP. Any update on that and conservation efforts of orchids there?
No, I really am not aware of the current status of what is happening in that orchidarium, and are they, and what are the species they are actually planning to put over there. I really have no idea. Sorry.
Okay. Is there any wetland within SGNP?
Wetland, yes, of course. So, so we actually covered one or two habitats. We covered waterfalls, then streams, and of course we do have Vihar, Tulsi, and Pavai lakes right inside the national park, which are very important to the city of Mumbai, not to Thane, but to Mumbai. Yeah, and these are pretty good wetlands, though they are man-made. They harbor. These are very good sites, I can say, and what you can say from biodiversity point of view or diversity point of view, these are really good sites, wetlands, like all the three lakes.
Then we have one question. Can we get compilation of your series on plantation of Thane in Lok Satta paper anywhere?
Uh, uh, I really don't know. So again, please write to me at seema@fun.in and I will mail you all the what you can say the articles.
Compilation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then someone has asked, what is your favorite season to visit Sanjay Gandhi National Park?
Oh, it is difficult because I like both summer as well as monsoon, and it is really difficult because the tree flowering and monsoon flora, both I just love both of them.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Ma'am, can some special permissions be arranged from your end to take trails at Vihar and Tusi Lake areas? The core zone, basically.
No, I guess not. They are restricted and without any like valid reason or some research or some other purposes, they don't give permission to visit those areas.
Oh, okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Are we done, Sarvesh?
No. We have a couple of more questions.
Yeah.
Do you think there is any effect of ecotourism on the flora of SGMP?
Of course. So, firstly, ecotourism, we need to rethink about the term of ecotourism. What do we exactly mean by ecotourism? And so I don't think we are what I can say meaning actually by like the ecotourism we are not meaning taking the meaning properly. I guess because we are not restricting the number of people who are entering the national park. Then on the trail also, yes, we are doing some what I can say, some efforts the staff is taking to keep you on the trail and not allowing you to roam off the trail. But yeah, the area is so vast that the people actually enter a lot of such areas which they should not actually, and we don't understand this, or maybe we underestimate this, that we are responsible for spreading of these invasives somewhere. Then in we might collect something from the forest, so we are responsible for a lot of disturbance actually inside these areas. So actually we should be rethinking of this ecotourism, the entire ecotourism concept. I guess the number of people entering the national park should be restricted. That is the very first thing they should do.
Yes, that's a great point. And then we'll take the last question of the day. Can you suggest any book on local trees with local names for references?
Yeah, sure. Very sorry, I just forgot to include that slide. Yes, there are a few big books on the trees of Mumbai. So there is this book, Trees of Mumbai, by by BNHS. There is this BNHS publication, so that is good. Then for if you want for trees, there is this book called as Jungle Trees of Central India. by Pradeep. Though the book is about trees in the central India, it covers a lot of deciduous species which are very common in AGNP or in our habitat. So that's a good reference book by Pradeep Krishan. Then you also might, if you read Marathi, you can refer to Aple Vruksha and Deshi Vruksha. These are the two books by Dr. Sridhar Mahajan from Pune. These are the good, both of them are good books. Then if you want field guides, you can of course refer to Flowers of Sahyadri series by Shrikant Ingaharikar. That is quite good.
Okay, thank you, Seema ma'am, for sharing this valuable information about the flora of a forest which is very dear to us at Sanjay Gandhi National Park. I thank you on behalf of Greenworks Trust for this lovely session. I hope everyone must have enjoyed the session as well, and we wish to bring more such informative sessions for you with various topics. So I request everyone, if possible, to make a small donation to our organization and support our nature education and awareness initiative. No amount is small for us, so please kindly help our organization. And I will share the details on our WhatsApp group. And thank you once again, everyone, for joining the session, and thank you, Seema ma'am, for sharing the information. Have a good day, all.
Yes, thank you, Sarvesh. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Good day.
Yes. Yeah, good day.